Folks, welcome back. Enough is enough when it comes to Pokemon collecting and investing. That's what I hear out there on the streets. And honestly, I agree. Simply put, I agree. We have reached a point in this hobby where there are simply too many products released in too short amount of time. There are too many sets released per year. The sets are so large and have so many different rarities that to master set them is near impossible before the next set is released. And the price points are so high and rising so rapidly that it's simply not possible for the majority of people to catch them all anymore. And we're at a weird part in the hobby because the market's so strong. There's opportunity everywhere, where before we made videos and I said there's not a lot of opportunity out there. Maybe it's time to hold some cash. Now it's like you could throw cash at any direction and you're going to do well. But the problem is the cash is getting thin for most people. And I had a comment in my last video, which I liked, where I was talking about Surging Sparks. And everyone out there seeing the opportunity and saying it was undervalued. Why didn't you take it? And someone in the comments said, because I didn't have any money. Makes sense, right? Like we, right now, all of us, there are so many plays out there that we should be taking. And we 99.9% know in our heads in X amount of months or years, the products are going to be worth X amount. And we're like, yeah, I know it's going to do that, but I just don't have the money to buy everything. And I think that is the biggest struggle that a lot of us are going through right now. Like when I look at this market, there is countless things I want to buy, both in sealed products. I want to make single plays, slab plays. I want to make grading plays. There's so many different things happening, but you only have so much. And you could only pick and choose so many different plays to go with. And I think one of the ways that you can kind of optimize your collecting and investing is really start to get more of a narrow focus on the things you actually want. Stop feeling like you need to, again, catch them all and go after what you're actually interested in, right? And so right now, right, I understand Destin Rivals is over $400 a box. Maybe you missed out. Maybe it keeps going and runs to the moon and you should buy right now. I don't know. But maybe you should have to say, you know what? Maybe I don't buy more Destin Rivals. Maybe I start looking at other things that are better opportunities. Maybe I look at Prismatic Evolutions. I told you guys every day this week, I'm going to continue to mention Prismatic Evolutions. The packs are cheaper than ever. The bundles are still under $60. The ETBs are still, $120 or less. Prismatic Evolutions, guys. It's going to be the play of the century. But maybe you start looking at other things like that. Maybe you go back and look at some of the cheaper booster boxes in the Scarlet Violet era. You know, now that Surging Sparks has ran, maybe you start looking at the Paradox Rifts, the Temporal Forces, the Stellar Crowns, the SV bases, right? Maybe you start looking at some of these single cards and these other sets that aren't going for hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. And you start looking at some of these maybe undervalued special illustration rares and illustration rares and try to get ahead of the next play, right? Because I know everyone wants to chase the in-demand card, right? And the reason cards are in demand, the reason cards are so expensive, the reason there's a top hit in every set is because that is what the majority of people want. That is what the majority of people prefer. That's the Pokemon that is majority of people's favorites, etc., right? But the thing is, the second tier Pokemon, the second tier cards, they all have very good life cycles too, right? The cards that are also second, third, fourth, fifth best hits in the set have very good returns as well, have very good price growth over time, just like all the other sets do as well. They just happen at different times. And so kind of like I talked about a while ago, when, again, I did call it right. When Evolving Skies made its leg up to the 2750 range, I said, look, Fusion hasn't moved, Chilling hasn't moved, Brilliant hasn't moved, etc. You should probably start getting on these other sets. Evolving Skies led the charge last time. It's likely going to lead the charge. And then we saw set after set and Sword and Shield all follow the trend, right? And that's kind of what you need to look for is once the main sets move, right? Once the Destin Rivals makes a move, Surging Sparks makes a move, 151's making a move, Paldean Fates is making a move. Well, that's when you say, well, maybe I need to be happy with what I have in those. Maybe I shouldn't go chasing those. I should start looking at the things that haven't moved. And that's kind of where your focus needs to shift, right? When you see the Umbreon EX and the Umbreon VMAX moving, and you see the Pikachu moving and the Charizard moving, maybe then it's time to shift your focus to the things that are not moving. Because once those do reach a capitulation point and they do start to, find whatever it is where their kind of top is for the time being, people's minds will focus on other things, right? The plays will shift, the money will shift to other cards or other sets. And that's where you kind of need to be looking for. You always need to want to try to get ahead of the money, right? You don't want to be chasing. You always want to try to get ahead. Now, it's obviously more risky, especially when it comes to singles and slabs. This is already going to be more of a high risk venture, right? If you're going to mess around in the singles and slabs market, understand you are taking on much heavier amounts of risk, but if you get it right, you are going to see much heavier amounts of returns than you are going to in sealed product. Guys, what's happening right now with Destined Rivals, right? It's kind of unprecedented, right? It's not normal. Normally, sealed product is going to be much more of a stable, steady growth. But when things are, slower or downturn, it's going to protect you more because sealed product usually doesn't have massive downturns the way that slabs and singles do. But right now in this hobby, there's basically opportunity everywhere. Sealed product is opportunity because it's getting so scarce so fast. They're not reprinting booster boxes. Could be opportunity with Mega Evolutions on release if you see any price drops or sales. When the second wave comes, if you see any price drops or sales, could be time to pick it up. Pokemon showed us they're not reprinting booster boxes right now. They're not printing a lot of them. Could run up like the other sets have. Don't know, but it could, right? Again, with the prismatic reprints happening, a lot of these products are being dumped on the market right now for pennies on the dollar, especially those Lucario boxes, the booster bundles. Just wait till the, figure or pin collection comes out. You are going to find deals on these things when they release, right? Black Bolt White Flare, not saying it's going to be a high flyer set, but as more of these sets get released, people are going to look for, opportunities to kind of sell off their inventory, especially stores, especially people with inventory in black and white, because they're going to want to move that capital into newer things, especially if it's a seller or a store who sells other TCGs. They're going to need to free up money for, obviously the Magic Spider-Man, whatever comes after that, the Avatar. There's going to be so many different things people need to spend their money on. You can definitely find deals out there for some of the kind of underwhelming sets right now, but they will end up being scarce in the future, just like Shrouded Fable made its leg up. Why? Because Pokemon is not going to priority print those sets. They're going to print the sets that everyone is searching for, that the prices are rising on, that everyone wants. And so sometimes, there's been times in history, go back to Sun and Moon era, look at Dragon Majesty, right? It's having an incredible run because, well, even though no one wanted it, it's so scarce, right? Look at Sword and Shield era, Sword and Shield base set, Rebel Clash. Why are those boxes so high? They're some of the weakest sets in the era. Yeah, but they didn't reprint the booster boxes. And so they became so scarce, now they're valuable. The same thing is going to happen in Scarlet Violet era. There are going to be certain products and certain sets that do very well, not because they're great sets or have great cards, just because they never got reprints and they're just that scarce. And you're not going to see that. It's going to be more of a longer term play. You're not going to see that for a year, 2 years, 3 years until everything kind of washes out. People realize, wait a second, they never gave that set a reprint. Wait a second, that card's population is really low because the set was never printed. It will happen. But again, these are going to be more of the kind of, Magic 8 Ball, the predictions. You're going to have to get some things right if you want to go that route. But I do think chasing right now is probably not the best thing because things are running so fast that if a correction does come, and I'm not saying like a market correction, I'm saying a correction on a case-by-case basis, you could get caught, right? Just like we talked about the Umbreon VMAX making that massive run to $3,000 in a raw card and then dropping back down to near $2,000. I mean, anyone buying into that strength, they got caught. They got caught, right? Anyone buying into these massive spikes, right? It's much more risky than trying to take a play that no one's talking about or no one's doing yet. And so that's my best advice, guys, is don't think you need to catch them all. You don't need to buy every product. You don't need to master set every set, especially at release. I think patience is going to be good, waiting for the right deals. I think taking advantage of the plays that do present themselves. Like someone asked me the other day, Alex, would you buy Destined Rivals right now or Prismatic Evolutions? And I said, well, obviously Prismatic because the price point, right? If you're asking, at release and they're both like, at MSRP, well, yeah, I'm going to take Destined Rivals, right? Or, they'll ask me like, Alex, 151 or, something else. And it's like, well, 151, obviously, but if you're asking me 151, bundle display right now or a box of Surging Sparks, probably Surging Sparks, because the bundle displays are already so incredibly high valued and properly valued, overvalued, whatever you want to call it. And so every product is a buy at the right price point at the right time, right? A lot of the easy money has been made in 151 on a lot of those products, right? It doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean you're not going to continue to make money, but there's probably other plays in the market right now at the current price points that make more sense that you'll probably outperform. And so constantly looking around for undervalued products, cards, slabs is probably going to benefit you more than just kind of logging on, watching a YouTube video and being like, oh, that's a new thing in demand. I better run and get on the train. And then you buy Surging Sparks at 260, 270, 280, 290. And it's just like, yeah, you'll do well, but you just don't want to go chasing things. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts today, guys. Hope it helps. Be back in a new one soon. We're out.